Before you watch this episode of our CityCURRENT radio show, I want to invite you to join cityCURRENT's e-learning and online personal development platform called GrowthCurrent. I'm Jeremy Park, host of the cityCURRENT radio show and CEO of cityCURRENT. GrowthCurrent is your exclusive ticket to attend virtual events with global thought leaders, national guest speakers, and experts who can help you grow personally and professionally. It gives you access to success secrets, lessons learned, learning modules, and so much more. Being online, you can join us from anywhere in the world. Subscriptions are only $8 a month, or you can do bulk subscriptions for your team. Check out growthcurrent.com to learn more and to join us in our efforts to power the good. And now, on to the show. Welcome back to the cityCURRENT radio show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our good friend, our next guest, Richard Casper. He is the co-founder and executive director with CreatiVets, doing amazing things using the arts to help our veterans. So, Richard, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing well. So you've got a lot of news. You've got a new location. You've got new songs coming out. So we have a lot to talk about, but for starters, let's back up. For those who are just now hearing this for the first time about CreatiVets, let's give them some context. You, served in the military, unfortunately witnessed the PTSD and unfortunately the sad circumstances around that, but you know firsthand about just trauma and using art to be healed. So share a little bit of your personal story that leads to establishing CreatiVets.
Yeah, thanks for that. I joined in 2003 into the Marine Corps, and I ended up going to Iraq in 2006 to 2007. And while I was there, my Humvee was blown up 4 separate times, which left me with a left traumatic brain injury. And my buddy was shot and killed beside me, which is what left me with the PTS. And so I struggled really bad when I transitioned out of the Marine Corps, and art and music had never been an option to me before. I'm from a super small town, so I didn't know that it was used for anything other than just doing art. And so I randomly discovered art at a community college in Illinois that got my brain thinking a different way. So what I call it is transitioned. I transitioned my warrior brain to my artist brain, and I started thinking about my life and new experiences using symbols and colors to kind of show life and death. And it was a way for me to talk about my wounds of war without actually talking about it. I could put it in a piece of art, put it up on the wall, and people could see it and talk to it or talk to me about it. And it was a lot easier for me to, say, yeah, this painting or this art piece rather than, yeah, me, this happened to me, because that's the hard portion. And so from there, I started doing creative writing and songwriting because with the death of my gunner, I was still afraid to cry around people. And I wanted people to know that Luke lived. So I said, what if I had a song that I could just give to people? So when people come and ask me about his life, I could actually fulfill that and give it to them and walk away, and they have the song. And so that led me on this journey of just discovery through art and music. I ended up at the best art school in the country, the School of the Arts in Chicago, studying conceptual art up there. I ended up writing with #1 songwriters here in Nashville to tell my story. And it ultimately just completely changed my life and really remapped the trajectory of my life too. Because from that moment on, I knew other veterans might not take the road I did through the arts. And so I wanted to establish programming that was going to be good enough and exciting enough to pull veterans out of their comfort zone and into art and music.
So walk us through how this works, because you have the songwriting, the music paired up with professional songwriters and award-winning songwriters and musicians. You have the creative arts. There's a lot to this, and you're finding them and they're finding you, and you're going to them and you're bringing them to you. And so walk us through the programmatic piece of this. Yeah,
so it's kind of the 3 different parts how we look at it. Like internally, we have some low contact, we have some medium contact and some high contact. And what I mean by that is for the low contact is those veterans who are just trying to get their foot in the door. And it's, come to our facility here in Nashville and learn to play the guitar, or it's go to Vanderbilt and learn songwriting over at Vanderbilt. And we cover everything. We make sure that everything's provided, the flights, the food, the housing. If it's an external program coming to us, if it's internal, we just pay for the tuition, the food, the travel, anything that they need to do to get in the door. And so these low contact things are huge groups where we're just saying, hey, learn guitar. Hey, learn collage. Hey, learn painting. Not going in fully into the warrior brain to artist brain transition. We just want to make sure that they're putting their toes in the water and testing it out. Then there's the next phase up, and now they're like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. I see other veterans like me doing this, so there's nothing wrong with this. I'm going to go to the next level, which is more of the medium contact, which is where we have our partnership with the Country Music Hall of Fame. We have partnerships with a bunch of other organizations, the Dallas Museum of Art. We do this art box program, but it's more of a small group meeting setting kind of thing. So where a group will learn songwriting, they'll be able to collectively write a song with each other. And then we'll be able to talk about that transition and what they're doing and really promote them to connect and write a song. Same thing with art, where we'll send out art boxes and we'll do small Zoom meetings as of right now to teach them how to use what they found in that art. But we do it again in a very small group setting. And that used to be in person, and hopefully it will be again. And then we have more of these high contact programs, which is really what built us. And it's what we only, for the first 4 years, this is all we had. But I knew I wanted to set the bar really high and work from the top bottom rather than the bottom top. And so we have two main programs. We either fly veterans to the best art schools in the country, and we've done this program at the School of the Arts Institute of Chicago, Virginia Commonwealth University, and the University of Southern California. And we pay for the veterans' flights, tuition, housing, food for all 3 weeks. It's fully accredited, so they go to school like normal students do. It's just that they're in a class with other combat veterans, and they're learning how to tell their individual story. And at the end of the 3 weeks, we have a gallery showing. We show their artwork to the community. They have conversations. It's an emotional experience. And then from there, we try to travel their art around the country as much as possible to have other veterans see it and then want to, so that whole cycle. So another veteran sees it, says, I want to create something like this, and goes back into art. And then for songwriting, same kind of setup where we'll fly them from anywhere in the country. Because again, suicide doesn't have a geolocation feature. You don't know where it's going to be at. So we want to help everyone from everywhere. We'll fly them into Nashville. They get paired up with a mentor like me or another veteran who's been through the program. They'll begin to start telling their story, and then we'll write their song, the story that they told us, into a song with them backstage at the Grand Ole Opry with #1 or pro songwriters, to finally kind of transition that story from being such a negative burden to a positive. We've had veterans who said, I can't tell my wife this, but I had to do blank in Iraq. And we get that out of them, and then they turn it into a song, and they're so pumped up about it. They send their wife the song. They're like, hey, babe, listen to the song I just wrote. And it's crazy the way that their mind has remapped and thought about that as a different situation. It creates conversation. It helps kind of bridge the military-civilian divide. It's been doing wonders on relationships. And so they're here for 4 days. They get their song. They're able to tell that. And again, veterans hear their songs, and then they apply to our programs because of those songs they heard, right? I want a song like that. So it's this whole idea of getting veterans, especially the ones not seeking help, in the door to let them know art and music's an option.
Speaking of mainstreaming this and both sharing the story, but inviting others and getting more to participate, and to your point, just getting the public involved. Now you can basically say, Alexa, play music by veterans, and poof, you've got music by veterans playing. And so talk about how these songs now are really, through obviously a valuable partnership on your end, now mainstreaming, and you're putting out the music for the public and to get more veterans involved too.
Yeah, part of my big vision from get-go was that I wanted, there's a few different plays on this. It's on the business side, it was how do I get a self-sustaining program that could bring in revenue that can help fulfill our admin, fundraising, marketing needs. So any donor doesn't have to, they could just straight donate to program development. And then the second thing was, and the main one was, how do I get in the homes of these veterans who don't want to leave their homes? So that opportunity came to us earlier this year with a partnership with Big Machine Records. So for those that don't know Big Machine, they're the ones that found and launched Taylor Swift. They have Florida Georgia Line, Rascal Flatts, Tim McGraw, Lady A, Brantley Gilbert, Justin Moore. You could just keep on rattling them off. There's a ton of them. And so now we signed an administration deal with them, but they're also bumping us up and helping us do some of the marketing like they would for an artist. So it's almost like a record deal. And with their partnership, we're able to release our music nationwide on all streaming platforms. And then from there, that wasn't enough for me, because I was like, awesome. Now we have distribution. We could put our music out there for veterans to hear this, but how do we get in the homes? And so when I reached out to Amazon, I said, you have an Alexa device. A lot of veterans have these devices in their homes. What if we could have a calling out? So if veterans struggling and they just want to feel connected to another veteran, they can say, Alexa, play me music by veterans, and it'll play our album, Veteran Songs. It'll say, here's an album by CreatiVets, Veteran Songs, and it'll play. And now you hear veteran creative music by veterans for veterans that are ultimately going to pull those veterans out of the house and then to our programming. So it's a huge partnership. It was one of those monumental goals that we set, 7 years ago, that we want to get to this point, and it's finally coming. Like, we obviously can't afford to take over all those all the other things I talked about, like the marketing, all that stuff yet. But we know that with this partnership sealed now, that over the years we'll get to that point to be self-sustainable through that.
Yeah, and so now you've got an opportunity to release music on a regular basis, and these are well-written songs. And when you talk about what the songs, I mean, I've listened to the album, and they're well-written, they're amazing songs, extremely well-performed. These are world-class songs, and they tell a story, and some are inspiring, some are heartbreaking. They run the gamut. I know that you personally, did that on purpose in terms of the songs that were selected to kind of share the different sides of this. But talk about that vantage point of just the production value of these songs.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that, for one, other veterans could connect with these songs. We wanted to make sure that when we released the album, we wanted a strong balance, because we have a lot of straight up veteran war story songs, some with no hope in them at all. And we didn't want to just release a whole album like that. But it is important to note that you need to release songs like that, because you can't have conversations with veterans unless you know how they truly feel. I have a lot of times where we're writing a song where the writer may say just like, hey, maybe we should put something uplifting in the bridge. And I say, honestly, if he doesn't feel that way now, we shouldn't put it in here, because that's going to avoid the conversation in the future. Usually it's the people who feel like that you think have it put together that usually commit suicide, just because you're saying, oh, they're positive, they have this going on. I was like, I want to know in detail what's happening to you now, so that you can send this to your family, friends, and battle buddies, and they can help you get help. And so just know, when we start releasing the songs once a month, you may get one really hard impact song that you're like, what is this? But it's a veteran song and story that just absolutely needs to be told. So yeah, did I answer that question? I kind of forgot.
Yeah. I mean, is the production value and the stories and the selection process. So absolutely. Talk about, I mean, these are professionally produced songs. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the production one, that's what I was hanging up on. We made sure, when we very first started this, obviously we didn't have a lot of money to get these songs recorded, but I wanted to give veterans something. So we did these really small price demos, sent them out to the veterans. With this relationship with Big Machine, and because they're going to radio or to streaming platforms, we know we have to have top-notch recording. So we do sessions while the veterans are still here. Right after they write their song, the next day they get to go to the Ruckus Room, and they get to hear their song come to life with the best musicians in Nashville. I mean, they hear the song once on like a work tape, and they just put it down full band, and we fully record these things to push them out. And so from here on out, we're able to do that so that you, the listener, have the best sounding song by the best writers in the world and the best musicians in the world.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. You mentioned the new location. So talk about this new location, and you have a grand opening in November.
Yeah, a lot of things happen in November. On November 6th too, we're doing a Veterans Day special album. Well, it's not really an album, it's an EP. We have Love and Theft, who's actually the writers on one of the songs with the veteran. We have a female veteran song coming out, and then we have Brantley's doing a remastered version of one of his songs and putting it on there. So it'll be like a little 3-song set that we push out before we start doing one song a month. But on that same weekend, we're going to do our grand opening of our new space here in Nashville. It's on 12th and Edgehill, right next to Operation Stand Down. And the beauty between our relationship with Operation Stand Down is they see over 3,000 veterans a year, and they mainly focus on putting them into new jobs and help them with resources, nothing with mental health. And so since we're doing the arts and music based around mental health, it's going to be so good to be able to start working with them and having their programs come to us. But we're going to start out by doing some songwriting classes, some collage classes, some photography classes. We have a streaming room on the other side of this. So it's a full game streaming room that veterans should come in and partake in while they're trying to dabble into some of the arts. We have this room, which is a songwriter's room. So we can have writing sessions in here. We have a full like art space that we're going to be working with. If we want to work with the community, we want other people to use the space, not just veterans. So as we grow, I'll keep posting. If people follow us on Facebook or Instagram at CreatiVets, we'll be updating people on the exact date. We're thinking November 7th right now, but we really want to just open this up so veterans anywhere in Nashville have access to the space.
Yeah, so much of what you're creating is a community, and obviously a community at a local level, but even a national and a global level, which I think is really, really important for the work that you do. Mention again, website, social media, where to go. So just make sure that we all know exactly where to go to stay in touch and be in the loop.
Yeah, if you go to creativevets.org, and if you're wondering how to spell that, there's not two V's in it. It's just spell out creative and then add a TS at the end of it. So creativevets.org. And you can find us on all the social medias, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. All those handles, if you type in CreatiVets, you'll see us. I think Twitter's like CreatiVets1. Someone beat us to it. So just look up CreatiVets. You'll see our logo with a guitar pick and two Marines in the middle of those two guitar picks walking. So just look us up on any of those social platforms. If you go to our website, we also have a live section so you can see when we're streaming, because we also offer free classes. And this is open to the public. We're mainly gearing it towards veterans who may be isolated, but it's on an open platform on our Facebook, on our Twitch, and on our YouTube. We'll teach songwriting with the #1 songwriter, and we'll also teach some of the arts. So you can look for us there too.
Yeah, and obviously nonprofit focus on your end, financial contributions to underwrite your efforts is extremely important. So for everyone listening and watching this on the screen, financial contributions to underwrite your efforts are really important to be able to do the work that you do. So Richard Casper, thank you for all you and your team do. Thank you for serving our country, for serving our veterans. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me and sharing the word.